Protests have erupted in Wisconsin after police shot and gravely wounded a black man in the back in front of his family. So now witnesses said the man, later identified as Jacob Blake, had actually broken up a fight before police arrived. Then the police arrived. Blake tried to, get in his vehicle and leave. Since the fight was all broken up, the cops were there and thought, okay, hey, I can leave. I can do something else. I can go back to my family. That's when police pursued him, held him, grabbed him by the t-shirt, held him, and shot him 7 times in his back. So now witnesses described the 7 shots, posted a video. I'm not going to show you that because it's deeply disturbing, and I'm sure you've probably already seen it so far, so you understand what happened. But like, I'm going to talk about some of the eyewitnesses who talked about this. So now one eyewitness talked to the Daily Beast and said that she saw a police officer fire his gun at Blake from point blank range. Very, very close, right? Quote, he just started shooting him in the back right in front of his kids. That's neighbor Adriana Orlenes. And by the way, this is a mixed neighborhood, which a lot of the other people who live there say, yeah, it's a relatively nice, nice, quiet neighborhood. There's a little bit of a fight between neighbors that happened that, Blake had came to break up. It was like, hey, break it up. No need to be fighting like this around. There are children around, and, we want to keep this neighborhood nice. Well, unfortunately, the cops had to come in and make the situation, as they do, worse. Ornelas said she lives a block away and heard the sound of gunfire. She said that she witnessed the final 3 shots and noted that it was unclear if all the shots were fired by one officer. She said, I was so confused, I didn't know what was going on, and said that the scene had quickly turned chaotic, describing a group of officers rushing an officer who fired the shots into a squad car, which sped away. Who sounds like the thugs here? Who sounds like the criminals? Because it sounds like it was a hit on this guy. And now I know that's obviously what it wasn't, but I mean, that sounds like what happens when there's like a gang hit, right? And it seems like the police are the gang in this area, shooting a guy in the back after he broke up a fight, and then quick, get to the squad, go. No, Jesus. So now Dana Lorenzi, another neighbor, told the Daily Beast that Blake, again, had not been part of that fight, which apparently broke out around 5 p.m. outside an apartment block, right? Quote, he had nothing to do with the fight. He was like, I'm going to get out of here and get my kids out. So being a good parent and going and taking your kids and saying, let's get away from here. It's kind of dangerous. There are people fighting. And I don't want you to see that, right? So now, as it went around the internet, of course, this video and the story, you had some protests that popped up in Kenosha. Protesters threw bricks and bottles at police, and they fired back with tear gas, of course. Fortunately, somehow, Blake, after being shot in back 7 times, was still alive. Now, his condition is serious, right? But there are reports that he's going to make a very long, very difficult recovery, but at least he'll live. But nonetheless, this has, as I said, sparked some violent protest, and I'm going to get to the reason why that is. Now, first, I'm going to get to a spokesman for the Kenosha Police Department. Now, they immediately did not respond to a request for comment. However, the Wisconsin Department of Justice said the officers involved in the shooting had been placed on administrative leave. That's standard practice. And now they're doing an investigation. So here you have a shooting of an unarmed black man. Okay. A person who, according to witnesses, has said did nothing wrong. He's trying to leave. My guess is, again, he wanted to leave because he was afraid that the situation was going to happen, that the cops would pull up and shoot him for no goddamn reason. And that's exactly what happened. And, I know there's the inevitable comments of, well, you should just listen to the officer then. And, okay, but you didn't do anything. how are you like under arrest if you didn't do anything? Like, and here's the thing, people, you got to understand that a lot of people in these neighborhoods end up having to play this ridiculous game of Simon Says, right, with the police officer. You guys remember how that goes? Daniel Shaver, white man, right? He also had to play the Simon Says game with a police officer, who then shot and killed him, even though he had no weapon. He had a pellet gun in his apartment, and he was crawling on the floor, crying and saying, "Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. I don't have a gun. Please don't kill me." And then his pants start to fall down. As he's crawling on the floor on his belly, he goes to pull them up, and he's shot dead by a police officer. So that's what happens. Okay, that's what happens. And so when you say, "Oh, just listen to the police officer," how? Again, you're going to play this ridiculous game of Simon Says where your life is literally on the line. This is not the way that it should be, right? And sometimes people don't even get to that part, right? Philando Castile, sitting in his car, he said, "Look, I have a registered, like I have a gun, okay? It's legal. It's in the place where you want me to go and reach, right? And so I'm going to tell you very carefully that I am going to reach in this area to get my get my identification to show you that I am a legal gun owner. Please do not shoot me." And so he reaches and he gets shot anyway. So you understand that even if you follow and try to do the best you can to make sure that the police officers are comfortable with your presence and what you're doing, there is still a very good chance that you're going to get shot and killed. And so, again, that's why we say it's bullshit. Okay, the guy didn't want to play that game, and we understand that. And again, he was shot in the back for it, and that's understand. That is why the community is up in arms. That's why people are throwing bricks at the cops. Okay, now his mother says, "Please don't get violent," right? And there's understand. Like, do you think a white woman would have that same reaction if her child was shot? I don't think so. White women, black women, black mothers of slain people slain by police, and wives as well, right, or girlfriends, have had to sit there and have the most composure out of anyone I've ever seen, because I guess in a way they're required to, because you don't want to be labeled the angry black woman, which of course was what happened, what would happen in a lot of these circumstances. And so they show this composure that is, I'm just unnaturally strong. When in that situation, they're afraid for their lives, and they, in the case of Philando Castile's girlfriend, right? She had to sit there as her boyfriend was bleeding out right next to her in the car, and put her hands. I'm just placing my hands on the steering wheel, officer. Please don't kill me. I'm going to do everything that you say, and I'm going to play this Simon Says game as the person that I love is dying right next to me. That's what black people in America have to go through, and not just black people in America. Overwhelmingly, yes, but you also have white people have to deal with this too, because it's not just racial. Yes, it's mostly racial, but it's also a component of power. Socioeconomics plays into this as well. And I'm not trying to be reductionist at all, again, because this mostly affects people of color. But I'm saying it's not just happening to them. It's also branching out into people of lower socioeconomic statuses who happen to be white or other races. But again, mostly, for the most part, the records bear it out, mostly happens in black neighborhoods because they over-police those areas. So now, that said, the community totally up in arms, and that's why they're doing, of course, protests, right? And those protests were kind of ripping up the city. There was a small group of people that set a garbage truck on fire just outside City Hall and outside a police station. People were smashing windows. And so, yes, you had that violence. And again, understand why. Because this is a person that was murdered, like, by what is essentially a gang in this point, right? At this point. I mean, one of his neighbors, Dan Shanky, uh, who was a 68-year-old man, says, quote, he was good people, a family man who took care of his kids. I just called him bro from the first time I met him, signifying that, of course, he's a very friendly person. Okay. And Sankey says that he had been the neighborhood block captain for the area for about 8 years, previously managing the apartment complex outside which the shooting occurred. He got to know Blake because he lived across the street and said that Blake was a fixture of the community in the summer. He would play outside with his kids and would even mow his neighbor's lawn occasionally. And so here we have just a regular person, a good person, shot for why? Walking away from a police officer, shooting him right in the back. I mean, that's a good enough reason to get people to riot. Okay, if you're, hey, you want riots? That's how you get riots. Understand that people don't just riot for no reason. Okay, that's not a thing that people do. Okay, there is a reason that these communities are up in arms. It takes a community and a group of people taking so much, having to put up with so much, to get them to a point where it explodes. It builds up and it builds up and it builds up, and then the community just blows up. And so, I mean, for example, going back to Chanky's, he says, this is the first bad incident in the 20 years I've lived here. Something happened and all hell broke loose. Yeah. Again, people are absolutely fed up with this. I mean, this situation right here, and it's happening all over the country. As I said before, there's another shooting of a black man. Again, in the back. This happened in Lafayette, Louisiana, where a man walked away from police officials and again was shot 11 times in the back. This was Trayford Pellerin. And so police were responding to a report of a disturbance involving a man with a knife. And we don't know. I don't know if Pellerin was that man with a knife. It doesn't say. But they went to arrest him. He started walking away. They tased him. Didn't work. And so they shot him 11 times. I know the reaction is, well, why did you walk away from police? You're not supposed to do that. Okay, but that's not a capital offense. Is walking away from a police officer a capital offense? Do you think that's worthy of the death penalty? I mean, in this case, you can't walk towards them, right? Because you're in danger, right? You can't sit still. Ask Philando Castile, right? Can't play the Simon Says game. Ask Daniel Shaver, right? What can you do? And you can't even say, I can't breathe with a knee on your neck, okay, for 9 minutes. It's almost as if you can't do anything with police without being shot or strangled to death somehow. It's almost as if we have a problem with police. Weird. I mean, it's almost as if we live in a racist police state. Weird. I know. Maybe we need to do something about that. Maybe we should, consider defunding the police officers. Okay. And, take away some qualified immunity. All right. And, maybe have cops think of, twice about drawing and using their weapons unless they have absolutely no choice. But of course, unfortunately, to some people, this outcome is not the bad thing. No, it's not the bug, it's the feature. Our system is working perfectly as intended, the way that it should, right? Where you can shoot black people in the back for no reason. Oh, great. Okay. Awesome. So, you know what? One thing that frustrates me here is, you guys know the story of Ken and Hannah, right? Young 5-year-old boy shot in the face by a black man, right? So now social media is all over that, right? Right-wing social media, it's everywhere. Oh my God, I can't believe we need outrage, outrage, justice for Ken and Hannah. Why is the media not talking about this? Well, the media did talk about it. That's how you found out. And for two, they tried to compare it to George Floyd, right? So, but it's not even a cop related shooting though, right? This person was arrested immediately, charged, put in prison. He's probably going to go away for a very long time. But, it took a lot of time to get justice or to even try to start to get justice for George Floyd. And also, the killers of Breonna Taylor have not been charged at all. Yes, fired, but not charged. And then now you have these police officers shooting a man in the back 7 times for breaking up a fight and then walking away to try to get, even though he had nothing to do with this. And so where's the outrage for that? Where's the outrage for any of that stuff? But you don't see it from the same people pushing Ken and Hanat, which, by the way, was an absolute tragedy and was something that wasn't supposed to happen. And, yes, he does deserve justice, but so do these other people. And to try to make comparisons in order to push a racist agenda that's anti-Black Lives Matter and basically anti-Black, very racist, it's just very problematic. And it kind of shows you who those people are.